Hello ELT130 students. I'm going to give you a tutorial on getting started with the lab kit. So what you see in front of you is the kit that you're going to receive for the course. If you open it up, first thing I want you to notice is there's one red board in here. If you flip it over, it says property of QCC. So this is the only part of the kit that you need to return at the end of the semester. So take good care of that. We're not going to use it this week. We'll be using it in the second week. So I'm just going to lay that aside for now. And there's some other things in the kit, various components. You are going to need some of these. There's some potentiometers and some resistors in here. So I'll put these over here. This is a servo motor that we're going to be using later on. Some LEDs, one of those we're going to use today. Some jumpers, various lengths and colors for making circuits. This box contains the Arduino. There's also a small breadboard. Another motor, I'm going to put that over here. We're not going to be using that just yet. And a couple of other sensor components. And you'll also find a USB cable. And finally, a plastic frame on which to mount the Arduino and the breadboard. So this is what we're going to get started with. You should find two screws inside the package with the plastic frame. So we're going to take those out of the Ziploc. And those screws are for mounting the Arduino onto the board. So if you pull out your Arduino, the Arduino actually comes with a plastic frame that is kind of stuck in. You can pull that out. You might want to hang on to that in case you mount the Arduino on something. It can make a nice firm frame on which to mount it. But right now we're just going to lay it out over here. And the Arduino, there are a bunch of little plastic posts over here, and if you put the Arduino down, you'll see that there's 3 screw holes. Actually, there's 4 screw holes total that line up with those. We only have 2 screws, so we're going to use 2 of the mounting holes. I'm going to use the one over here by the power connector and the one over here just to give it some good support on the diagonal. So we're going to need a small Phillips screwdriver. Hopefully you've got something like that at home. And you're just going to take the screw. And there it is. Next thing we're going to do is to mount the breadboard. So you need to take this out of the package. And it comes with this aluminum square. We don't really need that. If you want to, you might have some use for it at some point, but we're just going to lay that over here. Now the breadboard has an adhesive backing, and so you need to peel off this white layer and then place the breadboard into the little square area and press down. It should stick on there. Alright, so now we have a assembly with the microcontroller here and a breadboard that we're going to use to build circuits. The next thing we're going to do is come over to the computer desktop and install the Arduino software. So bring up a browser, doesn't matter which one. I'm using Google Chrome. And if you just go to Google and search for Arduino, Arduino, the first link that comes up should say Arduino Home. And it comes up like this, and there's you want to go to where it says Software Downloads. And the download options over here, you want to get the Windows installer, which is the top selection. And once that's downloaded, just open it up, and then just I agree with the license agreement, click next, and then install. All right, it'll take a couple of minutes to get through the installation, and once it's done, it'll come up saying completed. So close this window. Okay, now we're ready to connect the Arduino to the computer. So take the USB cable, and we'll plug one end into the Arduino, and the other end into USB port. Okay, then if you've installed the Arduino, after you've installed, you should see an icon that looks like this. I'm just moving it out to the middle of my desktop so you can see it. And just double click that. And it should come up with a blank sketch. And I'm just going to expand the window a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Now, if you want a really quick way to test that you can download a program, you notice that, and you may see this, it may already have a blink program loaded into it. You see the LED that's on the Arduino that's blinking. Well, what we're going to do is use that same blink program and make a couple of changes to it, and that will show us that we're actually able to download. So if you go to File and go to Examples, and then the first part of this is Basics, Blink. So it turns the LED on by doing a digital write high, and then delays 1000, which is 1000 milliseconds or 1 second, and then it turns it off and waits for a second, and it just keeps repeating. What we're going to do is I'm going to change the blink rate, so I'm going to make this a short on time of 200 milliseconds and keep the off time at 1 second. And then I'm going to download this to the microcontroller, and what I want to see is that the LED starts blinking at a different rate. It should be only on for a fifth of a second, or 200 milliseconds, and then off for a full second. So to download to the Arduino, you go to Tools, and the first thing you need to do is make sure that the board says Arduino Uno. It probably will, because that's the default, but just make sure it's the correct board. And then under Port, you want to look for, now your computer, depending on how your computer is set up, you may see more COM ports. Sometimes you'll see a COM 1 and a COM 3, but there should be one port it probably is even labeled Arduino Uno, which makes it handy if you're on Windows. If not, if one way you can find out what the port is by unplugging the Arduino, seeing which port number disappears, and then plugging it in and seeing which is the one that reappears. So I'm just going to click on COM 15. What I'm doing is I'm telling it which serial COM port is the computer is using to connect to the Arduino. Now I'm ready to upload the program. So this little icon with the arrow is the upload button. You click that, and it'll go ahead and compile the sketch. All right, now it's done uploading. If you notice, the LED is now blinking on for a much shorter amount of time, 200 milliseconds, and then off for 1000 milliseconds. All right, so if you've gotten that far, that means you've got the Arduino connected, you've got the software installed, and in the next tutorial we'll talk about how to build a program and approach the first project.